Okay, folks, we're going on 3 months of unemployment, 3 months of my mental health deteriorating rapidly. But what do we do best? We review movies, which we have been doing since around 2020, 2021, starting with my original channel, Corey Unlisted, and now here on Corey Unlisted 2. YouTube, please give me back my original channel, I beg of you. So today we are going to be reviewing a movie which I picked up at the thrift shop in Folsom last weekend. It is called The Descent. This is the UK version, which they call the unrated cut. This movie was released in the summer of 2005 in the UK, and it is a UK-based movie. I saw it the summer of my senior year of high school after I graduated. It came out in 2006 in the US. Spectacularly scary, said Dennis Dermody from Paper. British Path Films. 99-minute runtime, directed and written by Neil Marshall, which he was famous for a movie called Dog Soldier. I think it came out in 2002. This is going to be a two-parter. So in this...
I don't approve of this, by the way. This does not look like good viewing material.
You would never have made it through it.
You would not have jumped if this was okay.
I was scared.
This is obviously too scary.
I watched this movie.
This is scary too. Red number 40. And he wants to eat it.
Fruit roll-ups. This is my childhood. Is this going to be a review within a review?
Bad.
So let's say, before we review these, let's...
All right.
Wait a minute.
Very bad. Naughty.
We have differing taste in movies. We're going to review the fruit roll-up of my childhood here. Review within a review. Concentrated natural fruit watermelon flavoring. Let's look at those ingredients. Natural fruit, dehydrated apple, sorbic acid, artificial colors, imported from Mexico. Okay, not as bad as I would have imagined. Something about fruit on cellophane that just gets the motor revving. I needed that blood sugar boost. This is the worst review I've ever done. 4 out of 5 on the fruit roll-up. It's good. Okay, so we're going to review 2 movies. The Descent, the original, and The Descent Part 2, which came out in 2009. Okay. So again, the first movie was directed by Neil Marshall. 99-minute runtime. And he also wrote the film. On a $3.5 million budget. Very commercially successful. It went on to gross $57 million at the box office. It was filmed, the exterior shots were filmed throughout England and Scotland. 18 cave sets were made out of polyurethane, painted to look real, because they thought it would be too dangerous to film in real caves. And it was filmed at the world-famous Pinewood Studios. Pretty sure that's where Stanley Kubrick made Full Metal Jacket. A lot of great movies were made at the Pinewood Studios in England. So Marshall was heavily influenced by the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, John Carpenter's The Thing, and the classic 70s film Deliverance, which I totally see the influence of that because of the movie takes place in the Chattanooga National Forest and the Appalachian Mountains in Tennessee, although it was totally filmed in the UK with British actors. He kind of wanted to do a removal from the traditional genre where it's a mixed gender roles of men and women. This movie is 6 female protagonists, and the backstory is they would go on these adventures together, and then one of the female friends, her husband and daughter, are killed in a car accident. So they're trying to get her back up on the bus, go on an adventure. And the one friend, who's the American, planned this whole trip, and it was supposed to be at a permit-only cave in the National Forest. But then they go off in this other cave that she doesn't tell her friends, totally unsanctioned, nobody knows about it. And then they go down into the caves and chaos ensues. This movie, I'm going to just jump right into the reviews. I remember seeing this movie in high school and it stuck in the old noggin. I'm 5 out of 5. 87% Rotten Tomatoes, 7.2 out of 10 on IMDb. Masterfully filmed. The way that they did the lighting, whether it's a red flare light, kind of a green glow stick light or just their flashlights. Really good at capturing darkness and building suspense, where there are these golems slash orc-like creatures, kind of look like vampires with flared ears. So the backstory is there was cavemen that lived in the caves, and they never, in millions of years, they never came to the surface, and they've just lived their lives underground. Evolutionary adaptation to living in a subterranean cave. They don't have eyesight. They are like bats. They use hypersensitive hearing and smelling and climbing abilities to trap their victims, and they're cannibalistic. But they are some sort of humanoid. Very terrifying. They kind of do look like the creature golem. More so in this film, they kind of morphed into orcs in the 2009 film. It kind of looked like an orc to me. And they were much more muscular. To me, they were kind of petite. And then they became these kind of insane killing machines in part 2. So I just loved the film. I loved the cinematography. I loved the editing. Part 2 would be directed by the editor of the original film. It's pretty much his only directorial endeavor, a guy by the name of John Harris. Part 2 came out in 2009, 94-minute runtime. It was a straight-to-DVD release in the US. Did not do very well in theaters in the UK. 48% Rotten Tomatoes score on Part 2. 5.7 out of 10 on Rotten Tomatoes. And I'm 2 out of 5 on Part 2. To me, it was totally unnecessary. It tried to tie itself in too much to the original film with some of the original characters. That movie, Part 2, was also filmed in the UK at the Pinewood Studios. But it just relied too heavily on the first part, and I just did not like the direction of the story. I feel like this could have been a better movie if it would have been a completely new cast. Maybe they didn't even know about the original story, and they just kind of stumbled upon it, and the horror cycle continues. But instead, they tried to tie it back in with the original characters. Part 1 ends on a suspenseful cliffhanger. Did it really end? What really happened? Do we really know? And I just really thought Part 1 was an iconic film, and it's considered one of the greatest horror films of the early 2000s, where Part 2 is kind of forgettable. Also, this Part 1, The Descent Part 1, was rushed into production because it was discovered to be a twin movie. In some of my other reviews, when we reviewed Big with Tom Hanks, we talked about how that was a twin movie where there was other very similar movies that came out the same year. It was discovered that there was an American film with a very similar premise called The Cave that also came out in 2005. That movie did terribly at the box office. I've never seen that one, but they rushed to put this movie out before the other one. And again, similar movies, The Cave, The Descent, they came out the same year, similar premise. I didn't see the other film, but based off the reviews, this one is the reigning supreme of the two cave dweller movies. Kind of reminded me of the premise of The Hills Have Eyes of a little bit. Maybe, I don't know, I think that could be tied into this similar genre. And I think they did a remake in the similar time period of that. But I really liked it. It was shockingly violent, but it does kind of seem cheesy at some points, but it's still a great film. Again, Part 2, forgettable. I feel like this could have been a better movie with a different scenario, but this is the cast that this is the script that the original director picked, and he was the producer of this one, so it continued their vision. But again, straight to DVD in the US, not commercially successful. So that's my take. You get a 2-for-1, 3-for-1 technically, because we reviewed the fruit roll-ups as well. Thanks for watching. Until next time, we'll see you then.